Hello to you and welcome to a blank screen. The reason I want to start with a blank screen is so that I can load in the game and show you what is different. Because today I am broadcasting not from the main 1867 game, but I am broadcasting from the 1867 recording studio. So let me give it a few seconds for the recording studio to load in, and you can see what is different between the recording studio and the 1867 game. And after that, I can then explain why we're using the recording studio. So, the recording studio is now loading in, and here I am, and you'll say to yourselves, hold on a moment, where's the loading screen? Well, the loading screen is only there for players who land in the 1867 game, and because we're going into the recording studio, there is no loading screen, which means it looks a bit messy, because as you will have seen, it takes a while for all the game parts to load in, but you can see they've all loaded in now. And you'll also notice, where is the tutorial? There is no tutorial upon this screen, and the reason is we just want to go straight into the recording studio. Those who are invited to take part in recordings don't want to play the tutorial because they've already seen the game and know how the game works. So here I am in the 1867 recording studio, and let's just start off by saying the emotes work. Yeah, they do. Hello there, YouTube! Welcome to today's unannounced recording from the recording studio. Now, everything is exactly the same apart from a few changes. So, let's head into the game, because it's in the game you will see many of the changes. This is where I intend to do recordings which are needed for the graphics. The graphic novel project, but more about that later on. First of all, you won't notice any change, except I have removed the eye from above this NPC, which means you can't chat with him, there's no dialogue, and you may not have noticed, but if I go up to other NPCs, which I've also removed the eye, the information, dialogue, chat, you'll notice that there is no semi-transparent part around these. It's only for aesthetics, to make it look better. So when we do recordings, you don't see floating text in the background, and you don't see transparent parts around NPCs in the background. But you have played this game before, and you know that if you run up to an NPC, you do get the dialogue on your screen giving you the option to play games. And the reason I've left that in the game is there may be an opportunity later on to use the rat cage, wherever that is. Where's the rat cage got to? Let's quickly finish. Try again. Not turned up. But the rat cage, and there may be a chance also later on to use things like the broom and the rat cage and any other accessories. So that's why I have left those dialogue boxes in place. Another change you may not notice yet is when you type in any text, like for instance, hello, YouTube. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It does not disappear. It's been scheduled to disappear after 30 seconds. Now, that is again for aesthetics, and it is because I need that dialogue window to stay in the game a bit longer. Otherwise, I don't have enough time to do everything that I need as the dialogue window is appearing. Because in the past, I would want to take a picture, a screenshot of my character saying something like, "Gosh, what a wet day." And I'd also want to do things like get rid of the chat window. I shall click on the icon to get rid of that. I'd also want time to get onto play some sort of icon and also put my umbrella up. And there's just too much to do in 10 seconds. I can't do it all, which means if I make a mistake, like I have just done now, I put the umbrella up in the wrong order, I can go back, play the emote. There we are, and take my picture. I just missed it because I was talking with you. But you get the idea. It gives me more time to do the things that I need rather than panic in 10 seconds. So, this is the recording studio. It is going to be used for recording pictures for the graphics novel project. The graphics novel project is basically a construction of a graphic novel about life in 1867. However, it will be different. It will be a steampunk graphics novel. And for those of you who are not familiar with the concept of steampunk, and if you have not read any books in this genre, steampunk is basically what would the world look like if you were to be a Victorian person but not invent electricity. Now, electricity changed the world, but suppose electricity was not invented. Well, life would go on progressing, but it would progress in different ways. For instance, you might end up having mechanical pets, like the steampunk cat, or mechanical pets like, let's find it. Oops. Oh, what happened here? My screen's just glitched. Can I get rid of that? I don't know what happened there. I just bounced up into the ceiling. I'm going to respawn. But you get the idea. You could actually have mechanical pets like the steampunk dog. Give my avatar time to respawn. So, steampunk is basically the Victorian world if electricity was not invented. And you may have heard of authors like Jules Verne, who was a famous steampunk author. He's written stories in the Victorian era, but they all contain some sort of fantasy, like wild and wacky machines, the ability to time travel, or maybe characters having some sort of special skill, like they can see through walls or they can fly. For instance, this aeroplane that we are now going to approach is a steampunk aeroplane, and hopefully it may give you an idea of what to expect within the genre. Inventions built in the steampunk era, the make-believe fantasy steampunk era, tend to be very fanciful. They tend to be like Heath Robinson type creations. Heath Robinson was an artist who drew up crazy, wacky inventions, a bit like this. And what I will do is I will link to Heath Robinson in the description so you can have a look at some of his works. But he has designed loads of crazy inventions that work with bits of string, pulleys, weights, rolling balls, and all sorts of crazy things joined together where one thing leads onto another to create some wacky invention. And that is what you can expect in a steampunk type story. And we are going to build a steampunk graphic novel in 1867. Now, I initially thought I'll use this character here. And then I thought to myself, no, don't want to do that. Let's go for something a bit more amazing because that looks a bit dull and boring. And so I thought what I'd do is I'd build a steampunk character. I thought rather than have Mr. Moneybags, which is this character just here, why not go for something different? And so I thought I'd build myself a doctor outfit. Now let's see if I can show you what the doctor looks like by resetting, because as I was talking with you just then, I sneaked back onto the website, which you would not have noticed, and I've just quickly changed my avatar to Dr. Rivers. Oh, my top hat has not come. It's not rest. Let me just double check by toggling top hat. There we are. There it is. That's back. There we are. I like this one. It's got a crushed top hat. So this is my steampunk avatar. The mask, by the way, is based upon a real doctor's mask from a medieval period. In the Black Death, some doctors across Europe would wear a leather mask like this with a beak in front. I know it looks really creepy. The disease was spread in the air by smells, and so if you could smell something pleasant, then you wouldn't get ill. And so the beak of this mask was filled with herbs and spices, and so the doctor would then approach victims of the plague wearing the mask, thinking they were safe. They would also carry a long stick so they could prod the patient rather than actually touch the patient. And that actually was a good idea because it kept a bit of distance, which meant they wouldn't catch the plague. And they also wore a long leather coat. I believe the coat was soaked in oil as well, but they thought that the disease would not travel through the coat. So in medieval times, a mask like this was worn by doctors. So that's why I've adopted the bird-like mask for this doctor, Dr. Rivers. I didn't actually think of Dr. River, but it didn't sound as good as Rivers, because River is a first name, whereas Rivers sounds better as a second name. And I thought to make him more doctor-like, I'd also change the top hat into a plague doctor's top hat. This hat is based upon a plague doctor, and I've also gave him a backpack. Initially, by the way, I wanted to actually give him a briefcase, a leather briefcase. I thought a nice fat briefcase would look good. I went on to the avatar shop, looked at them, and they would not fit my avatar. They floated in the air underneath my hand, which did not look perfect. So this was my second choice, a backpack filled with doctor's equipment. So this is my character, Dr. Rivers. Say hello, Dr. Rivers. Hello, YouTube. And he will be in the graphic novel based in 1867. Now, the reason I've chose a doctor is that it would be a great way of linking with other characters, because there are some other characters in the story, and although I don't want the Doctor to be a lead character, I do need to be able to travel around a city, go into people's houses and introduce people bit by bit. And so I thought the Doctor would be the ideal candidate for going around a city, because within the story, a doctor would have a good excuse for going inside people's homes and talking with a wide range of people, and then the story could progress onto their adventures. Now, one idea I was mooting, I'll give you a little heads up just now. One of the characters is a Prussian soldier. One of the members of the 1867 community said, "Oh, I'd love to take part as a Prussian officer, commander of the Prussian army." And his character has got an eye missing with an eye patch over the right hand side eye just here. It's a steampunk eye patch. It looks brilliant, by the way. And so I thought as well, a great way of starting the story and introducing the characters would be to invite that player in first of all, and then Doctor could go and visit him to calibrate his eye. The commander of the Prussian army lost his eye in the 7 Years' War against the Danish, and so the Doctor has given him a steampunk eye, and the story will start with my character, Dr. Rivers, hello there Dr. Rivers, calibrating the eye of the commander. Now, if you have read any of my stories, and they are all free to download from. Let's give myself a bit of a plug now. You can read my stories, which are free to download on all platforms like Kobo, iBooks, Barnes & Noble. Unfortunately, Kindle are mean. They will not let me put my books at 0. So I had to put the books on the Kindle site at the very lowest price. But I would recommend that you, if you do want to look at the book, that you complain to Amazon, send them an email saying, your prices are not the lowest on the internet. And Amazon have got a price promise where they will adjust their prices if a customer approaches them. And so if you look at the Kindle site, many of my books are for sale at 0 on the Kindle site, not because I placed them at 0, it's because people have complained. So complain to Amazon and they will change the book to be 0. Anyway, if you Google Maxwell Gruntley, you will see that I have written several stories. I've written 35 different stories on these platforms, and if you Google Maxwell Gruntley, you could even look at the website that I have built on the WordPress platform, which has got a complete catalogue of all the stories that I have written. And you'll notice that when I write stories, I tend to have characters that have got 2 major attributes. One being a positive attribute and one being a negative attribute. For instance, in the story A Clean Sweep, my Victorian chimney sweep, Jacob, has got 2 major attributes. One is he's a child, which means he's easily tackled by adults, and in the story he gets kidnapped by some adults. But his strength is he's a chimney sweep, which means he can climb up chimneys with ease, which no, I'm not going to tell you. I'll spoil the story. You'll have to find the story up and find out what his strength is and how it changes the story completely. So, going back to this character who is the commander of the Prussian army, he's got his right eye missing. And I thought, I'll show it to you now, a nice way of starting the story is to have Dr. Rivers approach the character to calibrate his eye and give him some bad news. I'm very sorry, Commander. Your eye will not see through glass. The commander will reply, oh, that's awful, but at least it's better than having no eye at all. Oh, but, says Dr. Rivers, what I meant to say was, although it won't see through glass, it will see through everything except glass. So, now, if the commander of the Prussian army is watching this video, he will now know that I plan to write into the story his superpower, that he's got the ability to see through brick walls and concrete and all sorts of things, which I think would be an interesting and also a useful attribute for a character to have in a steampunk story. So that's a little giveaway for later on. The commander is able to see through walls, but he can't see through glass because of his steampunk eye. Now, another little quirk I thought I'd add into the story was my character. I thought, what could my character's strength be? And what could my character's weakness be? Well, obviously, my character's strength is going to be the fact that he's an expert in the calibration of steampunk biotics. That if a character gets injured, my character can rescue that person by using his steampunk powers and building some sort of device, maybe a bionic arm or bionic leg, to assist that character. So that's what my character's strength is going to be. I hadn't quite thought through the weakness that well, because I thought initially, hey, wearing this mask, maybe his weakness could be the fact that he cannot talk properly because his speech is muffled. And I thought to myself initially, that'd be brilliant. I could get my character to talk in anagrams. I know it's a bit silly, but when my character is saying a word, what I could do is I could Google that word onto Google, find out an anagram for that word, and substitute that word into the dialogue. So one example I thought of was if my character wants to build a steampunk dog, he could actually use the word God, God, instead, and use the wrong word. And maybe that would introduce a vicar into the plot. Someone could actually misinterpret his instructions about getting a dog, getting the God instead, and thinking my character is asking for the vicar to come. And I thought that would give a few sort of quirky things. And it might make the story progress in a quirky, strange way. But on second thoughts, if my character is going to introduce people and visit people around a city and is needed to progress the dialogue, if I keep putting anagrams, which are jumbled up words, into the dialogue, that's going to upset the flow of the dialogue. So I need to rethink that. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board because the plot is not yet written. We are still at the stage of getting characters to volunteer to be part of the story. And if you are interested in joining this story as a character, come and look at the Discord channel for 1867. There are full details upon the Discord channel. And if you want to be in the story as a character, and at the moment there have been 5 different submissions. So I've got 5 different people. I've got this doctor. I've got the commander of the Prussian army. I've got a washerwoman. I'm going to quickly open up my file and have a look at the rest of the characters. I've got a washerwoman called Rosebell. I've got Werner. Oh, I've got 4 characters. Apologise, 4 characters, not 5. I thought I had 5. I've got 4 characters. I've got Werner, another character. I'm going to have to think about those characters really carefully and decide what sorts of strengths and weaknesses I give to those characters, and who should be a major player and who should be a minor player in the story. So I need to work that out later, because at the moment we are at the stage of just building the story. Now, look at that. My first level is going down. The good news is everything works, but the bad news is there is nothing inside here because I haven't actually put any money in my account. I haven't bought anything. So let me run over to the pump as I'm talking to you. Now, because this game is a separate game to 1867 main game, of course, if you've got a money balance, actually, I gave myself 1,000 centimes earlier on. There it is, 1,000 centimes, but I've not spent it yet. If you've got any money balance in the main game, it will not transfer over here because it's a separate game. But anyone who volunteers to take part in this game, I will give them 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever they need to buy whatever costumes they need and whatever props they need, because all the characters in the story have got to look authentic. They've got to look the part, otherwise the story will not really be that convincing for the reader. So that's my plan of what to do over the next few weeks. You can see here, the recording studio is now complete and ready for recording pictures. I've got all the settings set up. Have I, Dr. Rivers, got the settings set up? Yes, of course I have. I've got all the settings ready, which means the game is up and ready for recording. We are now at the process of collecting different characters by asking volunteers from the 1867 community to join us as a character, and you are welcome too. Just come along to the Discord channel and volunteer, and you can see all the all the key constraints and advice given. And all basically the rule. Yeah, there is one rule. Make sure your character looks Victorian or Victorian steampunk. So if you haven't got Victorian costumes, don't worry, you can buy them from this game, because I'll give you an unlimited number of centimes so that you can buy whatever you need in order to equip your character to look the part in the story. And so, after we've got a small crowd of willing volunteers, it is my intention to drop into the game at roughly 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock my time, which is British time, British summer time. So if you want to Google that, what is 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock British summer time, my local time? And all the venue dates and times will be posted on the Discord channel. And anybody is welcome to join us. I shall work on a plot, try and get it to be exciting and interesting by making it steampunk driven, and then we will record the pictures here in the recording studio. I will take them and place them into some alternative software and build up a graphic novel, and hopefully you will see the graphic novel over the next few months or so, and maybe on Roblox, maybe on a developer forum, or maybe in the Discord channel, or if the people who take part consent, and only with their consent, I can actually use my Maxwell Grantley account and place it online as a free to download ebook. Of course, it will be free to download, and I think because of ethics, I won't place it on Amazon, the Kindle store, because they charge. So it'll be found, if it does go this far, it will be found on iBooks, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and all the other major internet bookstores where I am able to place it free of charge. But I will only do that if those who take part consent, out of politeness for those. So, that's some news of what to expect and what's going to happen. I hope that you have enjoyed this peep into 1867. If you want to get up to date with all the news and updates from the world of 1867, don't forget, subscribe to this channel for news and updates from the world of 1867. Goodbye, YouTube. Right, off I go to explore the city. Woohoo! I wonder what's up here. That looks interesting. Oh, don't forget, I've got to stop the live stream. So, finger on the button and stop.